Hello and welcome to MB Tech. Now we're going to be going over the install of the network load balancer that's going to be part of our Kubernetes cluster. This is set up on a separate VM, and from our diagram that we have, it is going to be the IP address 10.14.1.70. It could be whatever it is on your network. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. And we have the name, we have the IP address here, and then if we go to our actual Pi-hole, we can see that we have it listed here as well. It is right here at 70 MB3, and it has the IP address, same IP address as we have the other ones. From there, what we can do is we are going to do it two different ways. One is going to be from an actual playbook, and then another one is actually going to be installing it on the actual box itself. So the first way we're going to do it is we're actually going to do it from being on the box itself. So what we need to do is we need to SSH into the network load balancer. So we are now SSH into the network load balancer. Here we can just do a quick check just to make sure. Here we can check to make sure that, obviously the nginx is not there. It's not there that way, so we can do rpm query all. And we will grep real quick for nginx. And we see that the package is not installed. We can also even change directory or look for a list, etc/nginx. Doesn't exist, so like I said, it is a clean box. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to install the nginx. That'll be just a yum install. All that is a yum install nginx. And we can see here that it's going to install all these packages, actually 24 packages, about 17 megs. We're going to say yes to that. Okay, so nginx is installed on the system. At this point here, we're actually going to check out the config file. So it'll be vi etc nginx. And we can see here, this is just the standard one that comes after you install it. We are going to change this. And we're actually going to put in a different one that will allow load balancing. So this one here we can actually just get rid of or make a backup of. Next we're going to move that file to nginx old. And we're going to create a new file, nginx.config. We're going to create a new file called nginx.config with a touch command. We're going to VI into that file. Inside of here, what we're going to do is we're going to put in the proper code that we need. So we're going to insert, and then I've got this in my source control. Cut and paste that, and insert that. And then what that's basically doing is it's setting up the load balancer to listen to our upstream K3S servers, which are going to be 71 and 72. Those are our controllers. And then it's going to listen on 6443 is the port that's going to listen to. So we can escape, right, quit, and this will be on the website as well as the description. Here we need to enable nginx, therefore it'll start on reboot. And next what we need to do is start nginx. From there we can actually do a status. And we can see that our nginx is now running and it is active, and therefore this part of the install is set up. We've currently installed the network load balancer by actually getting on the system itself and doing it. Next, I'm actually going to remove all of this, and then we'll do it from a Ansible controller. So we'll just quit here. We will do a yum remove nginx. Say yes. Okay, that part's been removed. Now I just want to make sure that in our etc directory nginx, there's some old stuff in here. We're going to remove that even. And we're also going to remove the nginx folder as well. Therefore, there's no nginx here. If we do an rpm query all grep for nginx, it should come back with nothing as well. Okay. So here, now what we're going to do is we're going to hop over to our Ansible controller. So we'll go over to that server. And this is our Ansible controller. Inside of here, I actually have some playbooks as well as some roles for the different parts. So do a quick list. We can see we got our Ansible config, our inventory, our nginx, our playbooks, and our rules. So if we take a real quick look at inventory, you can see we got Docker is going to be installed on 71 through 79. Our KS first control plane is 71. Our other control plane is 72. And then we've got our K8 master and children. And then we've got our K8 nodes. And then we've got our K8s children. And then we've got our network load balancer, which is 10.14.1.7. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to just run a quick Ansible thing. And the one thing I can show you is we're going to SSH Ansible to that IP address. And it goes right through because when we set it up with the Pixie boot, it actually added that user with the SSH key from the system itself. So it goes in right through, and it's a clean access to that. So we're going to actually exit out of that, and we're going to go back to the Ansible controller. So then from here, what we're going to do is we're just going to do an Ansible ping. We're going to do an Ansible NLB, which will pull that one system out, and it'll do a module ping and do a verbose on it. So that shows that it is successful. It can access it. We pinged it. It ponged back. So from there, we're actually now going to do an Ansible playbook. We're going to enter the Ansible playbook. I inventory the playbooks and configure nginx YAML. Put in the SSH password. It's gathering the facts. It's actually going through and installing the packages. And if we go to the other, the box that we're on, if we do a tail-f log, we can see that it's actually going through and it's actually installing these packages and stuff like that. And it is done. So if we go back to the Ansible, we can see that 5 things were okay. It changed 3. So it actually installed nginx, and it copied the nginx config file and restarted nginx. And then it started and enabled the services on nginx, and then it ran the handler, which is basically to start nginx, and then it just did a recap. So this is from the Ansible controller itself, and then this here is actually on the server itself. Like I said, we were just looking at the logs that were on there. So if we go here and do a system control status and nginx, we can see that it's active and running. If we are in this directory now, we can go into the nginx now. Cat it, and we can see it has that file that we actually had from our Ansible controller. So that just made it a lot easier, a lot quicker. This is how we will install all of the other, the controller as well as the workers and stuff like that. We'll try to Ansibleize it, if you will, just to make it quicker, faster for setup and stuff like that from bare VMs basically on there. That concludes setting up the network load balancer. This was first done by actually logging into the box and installing the packages by hand and transferring over the configuration file or copying the configuration file in. And then the second time we went through and we actually did it from the Ansible controller using a playbook that basically did the same thing that we did with the on the box itself, but much faster and much cleaner and repeatable. You don't have to worry about fat fingering anything for that as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. It was basically 2 different ways to install the network load balancer for our Kubernetes cluster that we're going to be setting up. Next, we'll go through setting up the control plane or one of the control servers for our Kubernetes cluster. And then from there, we'll add the second controller, and then we'll add some workers as well to that. I hope you enjoyed this so far. Information will be in this description as well as also on my webpage. Hope you enjoyed this, and have a good night.